normally have a wonderful voice for presenting, even though it is Southern. For those of you who cannot understand the Southern accent, I usually tell people I have a second language also. I went to make a speech at Buick headquarters a few years ago, and of course all the northern men that were part of Buick didn't normally see a young Southern woman come to make a presentation. So I started out by letting them know that I did have a second language and they'd have to listen very carefully. So I'm delighted to be here today. And it is pollen season in North Carolina, if you haven't noticed. And so bear with me if I need to stop, take a drink of water to get rid of the drainage. So I hope all of you have had a great trip, and it's my pleasure to talk about education. And while I am going to talk about a project that we're doing at Duke in North Carolina public schools, it really is a global education model, because the one thing we did when we designed this model in 2001 was to think about the future of children that would be traveling globally if they had a future in the workforce. And so one of the things we wanted to do was to make sure that whatever we did in developing a model to try to change the dynamics in North Carolina, giving children a chance to move into the future and to give all children, blacks, Hispanic, white, and we have a number of Native American students in North Carolina. So we had to think carefully about how to do that. So what I'm going to share will be quick, and I'm handing out a brochure that if you need to get in touch and learn more, there'll be some web links that you could look at. So when we think about gifted to all, normally gifted is reserved for the highly intelligent. We've designed a program and had great success. So I'm going to share a little bit of the results. But one of the things, we keep getting the bad news, and in this country, just since the first of the year, all these major reports have come out to just keep reminding us of the inequality that still exists worldwide, but especially in America. And it drives me crazy. This is my 50th year in education. I've done it all. I started out teaching Title I. I ended my career in a local school district as a high school principal. And I worked at the State Department trying to change the way we did business in public schools. And here we are all these years later, we're still trying to solve that problem. Well, the truth of the matter is, we know how to do it. We just don't have the will. Our political figures and our public policy people really need to make those changes. Our model basically retrains educators, both principals and teachers together. And we focus on changing their dispositions about students. Most people in education love children that wouldn't be there, but then they love them to death sometimes in not wanting them to really use their minds to do complex things. And so in the first year of desegregation, I started my career as a Title I teacher focused on poverty and minority children. And what I found pretty quickly was that the state started dumbing down the curriculum to teach those children. And I started trying to raise it up. So our retraining of educators is to challenge them on how to think differently about children and how to design a curriculum that will engage them. And we implement all the gifted education strategies we use to teach gifted children. We do that for all our populations. And then on the other side, we've come up with a curriculum that is around universal concepts: change, chaos, patterns, systems. So at the heart of our curriculum are multicultural units of study using great books of fiction and nonfiction and developing those units of study that give children problems, and we do universal concepts, thinking skills, helping children to describe, to classify, to do all the things they have to do to be successful in the world. And we added a component that's unique to our project called Gifted Intelligent Behaviors. We can actually train and educate children to become smart with the way you engage them in these characteristics. And we build that into the curriculum. We also assess their learning styles, and you'll find that most of the Title I population of children, they're all into creativity, and they love the learning style that has them discussing, being interpersonal. Most teachers have a mastery level teaching style, so they're out of sync. And then the other great thing that we do is to focus all of our energy on nurturing the interest and developing the talents of individual children by the way we design the curriculum. And one of the things we found out in this study that it does transcend poverty. We tell the teachers the only thing you can control, you cannot control the parents, you can't control how poor they are, you can control 6 or 7 hours you have them in school in terms of teaching them well. And that's what we focus on. And it is a model. From day one, starting with kindergarten, we ask teachers and students to speak in complete sentences. For ESL students, that changes their lives in terms of what they're able to do. And that's carried out throughout our curriculum. They practice thinking and reflection on every lesson they teach, which makes a huge difference, and pool that information from the students. We immerse the students in analysis skills and background information around advanced vocabulary. One of the things, especially, I lived in a lot of textile communities in North Carolina. My husband got transferred a lot. And so in poverty, a lot of our textile children were white in poverty. And they had the same problems of trying to have the kind of background that they needed to be successful in schools. And of course, Dr. Derry kicked off what happened with us in developing our project with a study that he did for the State Board of Education in North Carolina. And that was basically to look at advanced placement classes, all the work that had gone in the decade prior to 2001 to try to increase the numbers. Today, the numbers have not shifted to increase the number of students that get into advanced placement from these populations. And so our project showed that you could do that, but unless it's picked up and scaled up as a model, along with other models that do the same thing. If you look at this data, this is still accurate. Gifted placement only occurs in children that are Black or Hispanic at low rates, 1 in 20. And if you're white, you have a chance of 1 in 5 getting into a gifted program. We actually teach the Renaissance to first and second graders and have a debate about who the greatest creator of their time was. This is an incredible unit that can actually go sequentially from K to 8th grade at depth. So you could teach that one book for 8 years and have something new every year. And this, by the way, is on a website if you want to find it. And this is the book that we use, a marvelous book. And the children debate the question, who is the greatest creator of his time? And then the students actually judge that, first and second graders. We also teach units that build communities. And this is another one that teaches children all about what makes up a community. What idea is really a differentiated model. It's based on research. We use rigorous professional training, national trainers who actually do the research. It's a natural way to teach and learn, and it engages each student around their interests. We find out what their interests are, and we try to develop that. It really fosters change in teacher dispositions. It encourages the development of new and challenging curriculum. We also meet the needs of the exceptional child, and most of our children, we have basically closed the achievement gap. Also form partnerships in the community so that we try to make it a unique kind of a model for parents to get involved. Our basic questions were, what are the dispositions of teachers? Can we change those dispositions? And will it impact what happens in getting them identified? And we actually were able to do that. This was a Dalits grant, $2.5 million for 5 years. We conducted it in 28 schools, 11 districts, and we had a demonstration site, and our final report went to the U.S. Department of Ed in 2010. Our basic goal was to create a gifted program for all students. And I want to share with you that the biggest change excuse me, was changing the way teachers look at these students. And these are the things that we did. If you want to know more about this, you can find this on the website, and I've got a link or two in the brochure. And this is the impact on students. I want to show you one slide that really brings it home. Out of the 3 cohorts, the bright idea side, you can see how many students percentage-wise we identified, and on the control side, those 10% were about what was being identified on a normal basis. And we changed the teachers dramatically through the work that we did with them. And the biggest change occurred when they started believing that you could do something in the environment of changing the way students learn. And just one slide to show you, we teach metacognition literally to children, but then teachers have to observe that students are doing that. So the top graph shows where students were in the pre-test, and on a rubric, the post-test. You can see how the students start growing across, understanding what they know and don't know on a rubric. And our Black and Hispanic children do some of the best. So the journey is going to continue, we hope, as we get an opportunity to write new grants and do more of this model. We are scaling up right now across North Carolina in a number of districts. And we have 2 batch teams that are students, undergraduates, and grad students working on follow-up research. So I'll be around if you have more that you want to. Title I, in 1965, the U.S. Department of Education in America set up a new Elementary and Secondary Act, which was coincided with the first year of desegregation in America. And so in order to fund a way to improve the quality and level, hopefully, of curriculum, they identified Title I as a socioeconomic level for funding school districts. And of course, within that happened to include also a number of minority populations, Native Americans. And then as years started piling up, our Latino population increased dramatically. So in most of our schools in Title I now, last night I had a speaker that told us we now have 245 languages spoken in North Carolina public schools. So that's how diverse we've become. And Bass Connections is a new initiative at Duke University that has designed a way for teams to do interdisciplinary studies across 5 major areas, education being one of those, global health, brain research. There are 5 of those. But the exciting thing is undergrads can start doing graduate research early and come from a variety of majors. So in our BAS team, we cross about 7 different majors, including engineering and neuroscience, public policy, political science. So it's an exciting group of young people that are now conducting follow-up research on what we're doing and also their interests. So, I'll be around if you have other questions.
Hey, what's up now?
Brother, what's up?
This is a groovy party, man.
Yeah,
I
brother,
can dig it.
solid. Right on.